Admiral William Carter stood alone on the observation deck of the UES Defiant. His tired eyes looked out at the stars. For 20 years, humans had tried to be friends with the Galactic Consortium. During that time, humans faced unfair trade rules, bans on technology, and constant disrespect. The 17 alien civilizations in the consortium saw humans as nothing more than smart monkeys who found space travel by accident. The observation deck doors slid open with a soft hiss. Lieutenant Susan Miller walked in, holding a data tablet. Her face showed anger and sadness. "Admiral, bad news from the Consortium Council," she said. "They rejected our request for help. Again. That's the 5th time." Carter nodded slowly. He already knew what the answer would be. The human colonies on Proxima Centauri were in serious trouble. The Scytheri, one of the leading species in the consortium, had secretly released crop-killing bugs that destroyed all food plants that humans could eat. When Earth asked for emergency aid, the consortium called it poor management and refused to help. "How bad is it now?" Carter asked, his voice low and rough. Miller looked down at her tablet. "The death count just passed 10,000, sir. Most of them are children." Carter's hand tightened into a fist. His knuckles turned white. 20 years of being patient. 20 years of following rules made by aliens who looked down on humans. 20 years of trying to prove that humanity deserved respect. And now thousands of innocent people were dead. "Do we have visual contact with the colonies?" he asked. Miller nodded and adjusted her tablet settings. A video appeared, showing rows of small, simple graves. Many were child-sized. Parents stood by the graves, their faces empty of all emotion except deep grief. Relief workers moved among them, offering water and comfort, but their supplies were clearly running low. "The Scytheri representatives claim they have no knowledge of the crop disease," Miller said. "But our intelligence team found proof. They created it specifically to harm humans. They tested it for months to make sure it would only kill human-compatible plants." Carter watched as the video showed a small boy placing a homemade toy on his sister's grave. Something broke inside the Admiral. A line had been crossed. "Lieutenant, send a message to Earth Command," Carter said, his voice now calm and cold. "Tell them it's time for protocol enough." Miller's eyes widened. "Sir, are you sure?" Protocol Enough was the code name for humanity's response if diplomatic relations with the consortium completely failed. It was a plan created in secret, known only to high-ranking military and government officials. It meant that humanity was done trying to make peace with the consortium. "I'm sure," Carter said. "They think we're weak. They think we'll accept anything they do to us. They're wrong." He turned from the viewport and looked directly at Miller. "Humanity has been patient. We've followed their rules. We've endured their insults. But this, letting our children die while they lie to our faces, this is unforgivable." Miller nodded and sent the message. Within minutes, confirmation came back. Protocol Enough was approved. "What happens now, sir?" Miller asked. "Now," Carter said, "the consortium learns what happens when humans finally have enough." As the Defiant changed course, heading toward Earth, Admiral Carter made a silent promise to those graves on Proxima Centauri. The aliens who looked down on humanity were about to discover just how dangerous humans could be when pushed too far. For 7 years, humans had been building in secret. They worked quietly, away from the watchful eyes of the consortium aliens. Behind Neptune, hidden in its shadows, massive ships took shape in secret shipyards. On Earth, special military teams trained day and night for their mission. Under the moon's surface, scientists worked on new technology that the consortium believed was far beyond human ability. Colonel Grace Wilson walked through the large hangar of the UES Retribution. At 35, she was younger than most officers of her rank. But she had risen quickly because she was smart, tough, and never gave up. Now she watched as workers loaded the last of the quantum torpedoes onto the massive ship. "Amazing, isn't it?" said Captain John Foster, coming to stand beside her. 7 years ago, the consortium told us this kind of technology was impossible for humans to make. Wilson nodded. They've always underestimated us. That's their biggest mistake. The quantum torpedoes were special weapons that could pass through normal shields. The science behind them came from a young researcher named Maria Lopez, who had discovered the key while working in a small lab in Mexico City. The consortium had dismissed her early papers on quantum physics as primitive misunderstandings. "Are we really doing this?" Foster asked, watching the torpedoes being secured in the ship's weapon bays. "Taking on the entire consortium. 17 advanced alien species against just us." Wilson turned to look at him. "They've given us no choice, John. We tried talking. We tried being nice. We tried playing by their rules. And what did it get us? Thousands of dead children on Proxima Centauri." She pointed to a nearby screen showing Earth's remaining colonies. "Look at New Eden Colony. The consortium's trade restrictions have them living on the edge of survival. Or Morgan's World. The Vesh accidentally damaged their water purification system during an inspection last year. Half the colony got sick." Foster ran a hand through his short brown hair. "I know. I just wonder if we're ready." "Ready or not, we have to act," Wilson said. "They're slowly killing us, and they know it. They want us gone because we scare them." "We scare them? How?" "They're centuries ahead of us." Wilson smiled. "Because we adapt faster than any species they've ever met. Because we solve problems in ways they can't understand. Because in 20 years, we've advanced further than any species in the consortium's history." A young technician approached them with a tablet. "Colonel Wilson, Admiral Carter's ship has just arrived in the solar system. He's requesting a full status report." "Tell him we're at 98% readiness," Wilson replied. "All ships are armed and crewed. The stealth teams are in position near the Sci-Fi homeworld. We're just waiting for his command." As the technician left, Wilson looked up at the massive ship above them. The UES Retribution was nearly a mile long, equipped with weapons and defenses that humanity had developed in secret. Similar ships filled the hidden shipyard. The Vengeance, the Determination, the Justice. Names that reflected humanity's mood. "When I was a child," Wilson said quietly, "I dreamed of meeting aliens. I thought they would be wise and kind. I thought they would help us become better." Foster nodded. "We all did. Instead, they treated us like children. Dangerous children who needed to be controlled or eliminated." Wilson's eyes hardened. "It's time they learned we've grown up." The final preparations continued throughout the hidden facilities across the solar system. In orbital shipyards, on planetary bases, and in secret labs, humanity prepared for war. Not a war of conquest, but a war of survival. A war to show the galaxy that humans would no longer accept being treated as lesser beings. The breaking point had come. Protocol enough was now in motion, and no species would forget what happened next. The Sci-Fi homeworld floated like a blue-green jewel in space. Around it, a web of defense stations formed what they called the unbreakable shield. For 200 years, no enemy had managed to get past this defense system. The Sci-Fi were proud of their technology. They believed nothing could touch them. They were wrong. Commander Patricia Allen sat in the captain's chair of the stealth ship UES Ghost. The small vessel was barely larger than an old Earth submarine, but it carried humanity's future in its hull. Allen and her crew of 30 had trained for this mission for 3 years. Each person on board had volunteered, knowing they might not return. "Status report," Allen whispered, though the Sci-Fi sensors couldn't hear them. "We're between their 3rd and 4th defense layers," replied Navigator Ben Ortiz. "No sign they've detected us." Allen nodded. The Ghost used technology the humans had kept secret from the consortium. While pretending to struggle with basic cloaking devices, Earth scientists had actually developed perfect invisibility systems years ago. "How do they look so peaceful from up here?" asked Weapons Officer Lisa Wright. "After what they did to our colonies." Allen understood her anger. The Scytheri had created the plague that killed thousands of human children, yet their own children played safely in parks visible on the planet below. "Focus on the mission," Alan said firmly. "We're not here for revenge. We're here to make sure they never hurt us again." The Ghost slipped between massive defense platforms. Each platform was armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets, but they couldn't hit what they couldn't see. "We're in position," Ortiz announced. Alan took a deep breath. "Deploy the packages." From the Ghost's sides, small objects no bigger than footballs detached and drifted toward each defense station. These packages were quantum entanglement disruptors, devices that could shut down all electronic systems simultaneously. The consortium believed humans were centuries away from understanding this technology. "All packages deployed," Wright confirmed. "Timers set for 8 hours." "Good," Alan said. "Now we wait." The Ghost retreated to a safe distance. For 8 hours, the crew watched and waited. Some slept. Others prayed. Alan wrote letters to her family in case she didn't return. 8 hours later, the main human fleet, led by the massive UES Vengeance, jumped into the Scytheri system. As they appeared, all 37 defense platforms surrounding the Scytheri homeworld suddenly went dark. Their weapons, shields, and communication systems failed at the exact same moment. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Nancy Rogers watched as the Scytheri scrambled to respond. Their ships rushed to defend their homeworld, but they moved in confusion, unable to coordinate without their central defense network. "Open communications," Rogers ordered. On the main screen, a Scytheri commander appeared. His scaled face showed shock and fear. "This is Admiral Rogers of Earth Command," she said calmly. "Your defense grid is disabled. Your fleet is outmatched. We are here for justice, not annihilation." "How dare you attack the Scytheri?" the commander hissed. "The consortium will." "The consortium will do nothing," Rogers cut him off. "Right now, similar operations are targeting key facilities across consortium space. You are isolated." The battle that followed was brief but intense. The Scytheri fought bravely, but they were confused and poorly coordinated. Within 23 minutes, their orbital defenses were destroyed and their fighting ships disabled. "We surrender," the Scytheri leader said finally. "Please, spare our civilian population." Rogers nodded. "Unlike you, we don't target civilians, especially not children." As human peacekeeping forces landed on the Scytheri homeworld, news spread quickly throughout the galaxy. The species that had engineered the deaths of thousands of human children had fallen in less than half an hour. Humanity had made its point, and this was just the beginning. The Grand Council Chamber of the Galactic Consortium was the most impressive room in the known galaxy. Its ceiling rose 300 feet high, with windows showing the stars beyond. The floor was made of rare crystal that glowed softly. Around a massive circular table sat the representatives of 16 alien species. Each seat was carefully positioned to show the status of that species in the consortium. The human seat was small, uncomfortable, and placed far from the center. Today, that seat was empty. The council members were arguing loudly about the human attack on the Scytheri when the massive doors swung open. Security alarms blared as Ambassador Alan Wright walked calmly into the chamber. 6 human guards in sleek black armor followed him. "Stop him," shouted the Dralexi counselor, a tall insect-like being. The chamber's security forces rushed forward, but froze when the human guards raised their weapons. "You were not invited here, human," hissed the Dralexi. "How dare you interrupt our meeting?" Wright ignored the small chair assigned to humans. Instead, he walked to the center of the room. He was a plain-looking man with gray hair and tired eyes, but today he stood straight and proud. "I am not here to sit in your insulting little chair," Wright said. "I am here to deliver a message." He activated a small device in his hand. A hologram appeared above the council table, showing the Scytheri homeworld. Human ships orbited the planet, and human soldiers controlled the major cities. "The Scytheri homeworld is now under human protection," Wright stated calmly. Their leaders have been removed for crimes against humanity. The council erupted in angry shouts. This is an act of war against the entire consortium, the Vesh representative yelled, slamming his tentacles on the table. You have broken all our laws, added the Pelnar counselor. Wright waited until the noise died down. Your laws? Let's talk about your laws. For 20 years, we followed them. We accepted unfair trade deals. We allowed you to block our technology development. We even accepted your insults. He looked at each council member. But then we discovered something interesting. Your laws only apply to us, never to you. When the Skitheri created a disease to kill our children, where was your outrage? When the Vesh sabotaged our colony ships, where was your justice? The council chamber grew quiet. The Skitheri situation is unfortunate, said the Mrel representative, the oldest species in the consortium. But you had proper channels to address your concerns. Wright laughed. We filed 73 official complaints over 20 years. All were ignored or rejected. Your proper channels were designed to keep us weak and quiet. He touched his device again. The hologram changed to show a massive human fleet gathering near the edge of consortium space. This is just a small part of the force humanity has built while you thought we were struggling with basic space travel, Wright explained. We have ships near every major consortium world. We have technology you thought was centuries beyond us. The council members stared in shock at the images. What do you want? Asked the Dralexi, fear now replacing anger in its voice. What we've always wanted, Wright replied. To be treated as equals. To be respected. To live in peace. He shut off the hologram. You have 24 hours to recognize humanity as a full, equal member of the consortium, with all rights and privileges. You will remove all technology restrictions. You will compensate our colonies for the damage your species have caused. And if we refuse, the Vesh counselor demanded. Wright's expression hardened. Then the Skitheri will not be the only species to learn what happens when humans finally have enough. As Wright and his guards left the chamber, the counselors looked at each other in stunned silence. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Consortium faced something they didn't understand. A species that would not accept being treated as less than equal. They had 24 hours to decide. The consortium's response came exactly 23 hours after Ambassador Wright delivered his message. 3,000 warships from 16 different species gathered at the edge of the Skitheri system. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in the history of the galaxy. Facing them were just 200 human vessels. Admiral Nancy Rogers stood on the bridge of the UES Determination, her flagship. She was a short woman with dark skin and gray hair cut close to her skull. She had served in Earth's space forces for 30 years and had seen humanity go from newcomers to fighters for respect. They're here, said Tactical Officer Daniel Martinez. All 3,000 ships. They're arranging themselves in attack formation. Rogers nodded calmly. As expected. They think numbers will scare us. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. No one showed fear, though they were facing a force 15 times their size. They had trained for this moment for years. They're hailing us, Admiral, reported Communications Officer Lily Pottle. On screen, Rogers ordered. The main view screen lit up to show the Hive commander of the Vesh, the military leader of the consortium forces. The Vesh were insect-like aliens with 4 arms and large compound eyes. They were known as excellent strategists. Human vessels, the Hive commander said, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled rage. You have committed acts of war against the Galactic Consortium. Surrender immediately and hand over the criminals responsible for this Skitheri occupation. If you do this, perhaps your species will be spared from total destruction. Rogers looked at the alien commander with calm eyes. Commander, before you make threats, I suggest you check your fleet more carefully. Confusion showed on the alien's face. Then alarms began sounding across the consortium fleet. One by one, their weapons systems started shutting down. Ship after ship reported power failures and control system malfunctions. What have you done? The Hive commander demanded, panic now clear in his voice. "We've been planning this for years," Rogers explained. "While you thought we were just simple, backward humans, we were studying your ships, your systems, your weaknesses. Those human workers who cleaned your ships, the diplomats who seemed so humble. Many of them planted our quantum disruptors throughout your fleet." On the tactical display, Rogers could see that over 80% of the consortium fleet was now powerless, drifting in space. "You see, Commander," Rogers continued, "we knew this day would come. We knew you would never accept us as equals unless we forced you to. So we prepared." "This is impossible," the Vesh commander said. "Your species is barely out of its primitive stage. You cannot have technology this advanced." Rogers smiled slightly. "That's what you've always believed about us. That's why you've lost." She turned to her weapons officer. "Target the flagship's engines only. Disable, don't destroy." A single shot from the Determination struck the Vesh command ship. Its engines went dark, and it began to drift. To all consortium vessels, Rogers broadcast on an open channel. "Your weapons are disabled, but life support remains functional. We have no desire to harm your crews. Stand down and prepare to be boarded for temporary control of your vessels." One by one, the consortium ships surrendered. Some tried to fight with backup systems, but they were quickly disabled. Not a single ship was destroyed. Not a single alien life was lost. When it was over, Rogers looked out at the massive fleet now under human control. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them Phase 5 is complete. The consortium fleet has been neutralized without casualties." As the message was sent, Rogers thought about how the aliens had always seen humans as violent and primitive. Today, they had shown that humans could win without unnecessary bloodshed. "Now," Rogers said, "let's show them what real civilization looks like." The emergency meeting of the Consortium Grand Council was not held in their beautiful crystal chamber. Instead, the representatives of the 16 species sat in a plane room aboard the UES Justice, a human diplomatic vessel. Their faces showed a mix of fear, anger, and confusion. Dr. Kevin Harper walked to the center of the room. He was a tall man with dark skin and a short beard streaked with gray. As Earth's leading genohistorian, he had spent 15 years studying the history of the consortium species. "Thank you for coming," Harper said. "I know this situation is difficult for you all." "Difficult?" snapped the Dralexi representative. "You have attacked a member world and disabled our combined fleet. This is more than difficult. This is an outrage." Harper nodded calmly. "I understand your anger. But today, I need to show you why these actions were necessary." He activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Images of different alien species appeared, species that none of the council members recognized. "These are the Perezi," Harper said, pointing to a feathered species. "They developed faster than light travel 200 years ago. Within 5 years of making contact with the consortium, their civilization collapsed due to a mysterious plague." He showed another image. "These are the Trell. They discovered quantum communications 300 years ago. Soon after, their star mysteriously went supernova." One by one, Harper showed 12 different species. Each had developed advanced technology. Each had made contact with the consortium. And each had disappeared from the galaxy within a short time. "What is this nonsense?" demanded the Vesh counselor. "We have never even heard of these species." "Yes, that's the point," Harper replied. "Your leaders erased them from your histories. But humans are good at finding buried information. We found records in ancient databases. We pieced together the truth from fragments you thought were destroyed." The room grew quiet as Harper continued. "For the past 1,000 years, the consortium has been systematically eliminating any species that might one day challenge its power. Sometimes through direct action, sometimes through engineered disasters, sometimes through creating conflicts between young civilizations." "This is absurd." The Mrel representative stood up. "We are peaceful. We promote stability in the galaxy. You promote stagnation," Harper corrected. Your species have not made significant technological advances in centuries. You fear change. You fear competition. And most of all, you fear species like humans who adapt and grow quickly. Harper showed new images, secret consortium meetings, classified weapons projects, and plans for containing the human problem. Humanity was next on your elimination list, he said, but we recognized the pattern before you could act. While pretending to be the humble newcomers you expected, we prepared our defense. Ambassador Elizabeth Clark stepped forward. She was a middle-aged woman with shoulder-length blonde hair and a serious expression. The consortium as it exists today is finished, she said firmly. Its structure was built on deception and the suppression of emerging species. In its place, we propose a genuine cooperative of equals. All members will have the same rights, the same voice, and the same opportunities. And if we refuse this new arrangement, asked the Dralexi representative. Clark's expression hardened. Then each of your species will deal with humanity alone. I strongly advise against that option. The council members looked at each other nervously. For centuries, they had relied on their combined strength. Now, with their fleet disabled and their secrets exposed, they faced a choice. We need time to consider this proposal, the MREL representative said finally. You have 48 hours, Clark replied. During that time, human peacekeepers will remain on your key worlds to ensure no unfortunate accidents occur. As the council members left to confer with their governments, Harper turned to Clark. Do you think they'll accept? He asked. Clark nodded. They have no choice. The age of consortium domination is over. The age of true cooperation is about to begin. 1 year had passed since the day humanity changed the galaxy. The old consortium building had been replaced with a new circular structure where all members sat at equal distances from the center. Today, the chamber was filled with representatives from 23 different species. Sam Rivera, the newly appointed human governor of the reformed Galactic Cooperative, stood to address the gathering. He was a middle-aged man with warm brown eyes and a friendly smile that hid his sharp mind. Friends, colleagues, fellow beings, Rivera began, looking around the room. 1 year ago, we stood at a crossroads. The old ways of doing things had failed. The consortium system that kept some species powerful and others weak was broken. Around the room, representatives nodded. Some had accepted the new system quickly. Others had fought against it until they realized they had no choice. The transition has not been easy, Rivera continued. Change never is. But for the first time in 1,000 years, all spacefaring species have equal voice, equal protection, and equal opportunity in our shared galaxy. The Skitheri delegate raised a scaled hand to speak. Once enemies of humanity, they had undergone the most dramatic change. My people were angry when humans took control of our world, the Skitheri said. But then we learned the truth. Our leaders had been manipulated by the old consortium. They told us humans were dangerous and needed to be stopped. They ordered the creation of the disease that killed human children. The delegate lowered his head. We have lived with this shame, but human leaders did not punish our entire species for the crimes of our leaders. Instead, they helped us build a better government. They shared medicine and food. They treated us with more fairness than we showed them. Rivera nodded. Because that is the true test of an advanced civilization, not how it treats its friends, but how it treats those who were once enemies. He turned to look at 5 new representatives seated together. They were species that humans had discovered after the fall of the consortium. Young civilizations just beginning to explore space. Had the old consortium continued, Rivera said, these 5 species would have faced manipulation, restrictions, or worse. Now they join us as equals from the start of their journey among the stars. The Dralexi representative, once one of the most powerful members of the old consortium, spoke next. I must admit, we feared humans would become the new tyrants, replacing the system with your own dominance. We were wrong. You have kept your word about creating true equality. Rivera smiled. Because we remember what it felt like to be treated as lesser beings. We would not inflict that on others. As the meeting continued, Rivera looked around at the representatives working together. Some former consortium members had joined the new structure reluctantly. Others had recognized the wisdom in change. All had seen that humanity was different from any species they had encountered before. Humans adapted quickly. They solved problems in unexpected ways. They could be fierce fighters, but also showed surprising mercy. They remembered both kindness and cruelty, and acted accordingly. At the end of the session, Rivera stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Behind him, representatives from 23 species talked, argued, and laughed together. Not perfect harmony, but real cooperation. "Quite a change from a year ago," said Dr. Harper, joining him at the window. Rivera nodded. The day humans finally had enough was the day the galaxy began to heal. "Do you think they understand us better now?" Harper asked. "Perhaps," Rivera said. "But more importantly, they respect us. And that's all we ever wanted." Outside the window, ships from many worlds moved peacefully through space. The galaxy had changed forever, and no species would ever forget the day humans finally had enough.